Now, if you enjoy what we do here at Spectator TV, why not take out a subscription to the Spectator magazine? It's the fastest growing current affairs publication in Europe, and within its pages and on our website, you can read all your favorite Spectator TV contributors. We'll even throw in a £20 Amazon gift voucher, all for free, if you sign up at spectator.co.uk/TV offer, or just Google Spectator TV. That's a subscription of 12 issues for £12, plus a free £20 Amazon voucher. Do the arithmetic. It's a no-brainer. Now, so far on this edition of Spectator TV, we've not mentioned COVID, or at least covered it, but I'm afraid we are going to now. This week, Boris Johnson said that the fall in cases and hospitalizations and deaths was not a result of the vaccine rollout. I think many people will be surprised by that. But regardless of what Boris, the epidemiologist, thinks, what does the data show? Let's go to Kate Andrews now, our economics editor and editor of our lunchtime briefing email with the latest data from the Spectator's COVID Data Hub.
Thanks, Andrew. Yes, very strange comments from the Prime Minister this week, putting essentially all the focus on lockdowns for the progress we've made in tackling the virus so far instead of vaccines. So let's have a quick look at the data and where we are now before we dig into that. As you can see from this first slide, infections are down 97% from the peak of the most recent wave. Here we're looking at the 7-day rolling average, and current infection rates are roughly around where they were at the very start of September last year. On this next slide, those being admitted to hospital for COVID are down 96% from the January peak, also hovering around early September rates. And deaths down a staggering 98% from the peak. London has reported 0 COVID deaths for several days this month, including twice this week. Now, that can always be revised upwards, so we take it with a pinch of salt, but it certainly enhances the narrative that the virus is really on the retreat. So is this success story playing out across Europe? The answer is sadly no, Andrew. The graphs I've shown reflect that the UK has experienced one of the fastest falls in case rates around the world, and now, as you can see here, currently has the lowest case rate in Europe. But other countries like France are still struggling to get their cases under control. So if you compare the UK here with the lowest case rates to this next slide, where we have the highest rate for vaccination in Europe by a long way, this brings us on to the Prime Minister's comments this week about what to credit for our success in tackling COVID this time around. Now, the UK for months this winter was in one of the strictest lockdowns in the developed world, and no doubt that played a big role in bringing numbers down. That's what lockdowns do. They suppress the virus, but they can't eliminate it. That wasn't really the controversial part of his comment. It was the emphasis he was putting on vaccines not playing a crucial role in this story so far. And they're comments that head of the NHS, Sir Simon Stevens, has countered, perhaps not intentionally, but certainly in effect, by stating after the PM's comments that, quote, vaccines are successfully reducing hospitalizations and deaths amongst the cohorts that have had the vaccine, end quote. And those are, of course, the people who are the most vulnerable, because we've prioritized the vaccine for the elderly and those most vulnerable to having a severe reaction to this virus in the first place. And the ONS's infection survey backs this up. As you can see from this graph here, it's now estimated that roughly half of Britons have antibody prevalence, with 1 in 2 people in England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland thought to have antibodies. And crucially, it's people in the most elderly age brackets that have the most prevalence. And this is something that Sir Simon Stevens was also keen to highlight, saying, quote, data that we have analyzed shows a 75% reduction in emergency COVID hospitalizations for the vaccine cohorts. And as more and more people are vaccinated, that effect will widen, end quote. So what do we make of this? To be honest, it's very hard to disentangle the lockdown effect and the vaccine factor this time around. The odd thing wasn't that the PM was giving credit to lockdown, but that he once again deliberately was playing down the vaccines. This isn't a one-off. For about a month now, this kind of rhetoric has been on the rise, with lots of focus on vaccines not being 100% effective from both the PM and his officials. Now, that is a true statement, but still a very strange one, because nobody ever thought we'd get a vaccine with 100% efficacy. That the vaccines we're using are as effective as they are based on the data we currently have is really nothing short of a scientific miracle. So the question now is, why is there all this caution around talking up the vaccines? What's behind this? Is there real data-driven concern in Downing Street about the possibility of a new variant that can undermine vaccines? Is this an attempt to keep people following the rules for a bit longer, for as long as possible really, as their older relatives are getting that protection through the vaccine and they're fearful that people might start taking the rules and taking their life into their own hands once again? Well, either way, that's probably the conversation and the honesty that the PM should be having with the nation, rather than what we're getting now, which is quite a muddled rhetoric with the vaccine, which so far is proving to be a big success story. Back over to you, Andrew.